Hey guys, Scarra here. To talk to you a little bit about my new Instagram. So I'm more than likely post what I eat and maybe like pictures of me and like certain random conventions and stuff like that on my new Instagram, which you can find in the details below. It's Scarra with an extra A. I hope you guys like the content. If you're a foodie, you definitely will, and if you're not, maybe you just really like me. Who knows? I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about animation canceling and why it's really important. So the biggest reason and the biggest thing that I look for when I look at a pro player or a person play the game is how fluid are they. Certain champions really reward fluid play, and all the pros, all the best players in the world, when you see their movement, especially how they weave their spells in between animations, you're just like, wow, that player played that champion really well. But sometimes it's not really obvious how they do it. I think the most obvious champion on whether or not you can cancel animations or really work around animations very well is Riven. Now with Riven, if you can't cancel your Q animation into auto attacks or your other abilities, you can what canceling animations does is it allows you to get a damage rotation in less time. You either burst within a smaller window. And that's typically the best way to think about it. So a good example is that when you see when you see Riven players, they do animation canceling really well. So really great Riven players, like you see like the Shy in Korea or Lord Master King in Korea. You see like some of the NA Rivens like Revenge, Viper, if you ever watched the Challenger stream, and they animation cancel super well. What that ends up doing is that it allows them to get 3 Qs and string autos in between, or it allows them to do like ulti, QE, W auto, Tiamat, and inside their stun. And that allows less counterplay to occur. It means that the burst rotation is much higher, and especially for a champion like Riven, you need the ability to animation cancel if you want to play her at like the highest level. Because when you're playing against really great players with good reaction speed, who are able to read really well, they're not going to be out of position very frequently. And when they are, they'll immediately flash. So you want to be able to do as much damage as humanly possible during the minute where you do catch them. And that's where you see these top-level Riven players excel. Now, I'm going to go through a couple examples on like champions where you may not even know this, but it makes the difference. So a really recent one is Mordekaiser. So Mordekaiser itself, and something that I've been playing recently, is a kind of low mechanically demanding champion. So all everyone thinks of is, oh, you got hit 3 Qs and they're dead. And for the most part, that's true. 3 Qs are probably 80% of your overall burst damage. But the thing is, the way you weave in your abilities is what makes it good or not. So what I'm talking about is when you weave in your Q, your abilities, you want to do all your Q, W, E, and E rotations inside your rotations. How do you do it? So this is how I normally see it do it. Someone walks up to someone with Q charge, hits Q, hits W, hits E, and then just autos them 2 times. That's wrong. So what Mordekaiser should do is that he should be using his Q into an ability, and what it does is it cancels the swing back of your Q so that your movements or your abilities or cast animations are more fluid. Now, when I think of cast animations, they have a starting animation and ending animation, and usually you can cancel one or the other or both. And knowing what abilities you can cancel on certain champions allows you to play the champion much to like a greater potential. Like being able to push all your damage in a half second rather than a full second is the difference between a lot of times you getting the kill and you not getting the kill. So how I see Mordekaiser is when you do your third your Q, it should be you auto and then you W and then you auto and then you E. You want to be using your abilities after every Q auto, because what it allows you to do is you no longer use as many cast animations as you normally would cast abilities. Now this is really obvious if you do it ahead of time, because W has a really long cast animation. So if you press W and then you press Q, you're going to be locked in like a half second, quarter second. You're going to be like, why did they get away? Like, why were they able to flash away? Now, for good Mordekaiser players, you're going to see them Q into E for their maximum burst damage. So on the third Q, you'll see the third Q into an E or third Q into a W, and they'll, rather than doing 800 damage, they'll do 1,000 damage. And it'll be that much harder to outplay a champion that already does such extreme burst damage values. And that's just one example. Another good example is Nidalee. So a lot of times when you watch Nidalee players, something that I can immediately tell if the person plays Nidalee a lot is how they use their jump. A lot of Nidalee players realize that your jump can cancel every animation. So you'll see Nidalee players E into W and then Q into W all the time, rather than E into W or Q into W. Because what happens is if you do the performer, then your burst comes out immediately, and you cancel the ending animation on your Q and your ending animation on your E using W. And that's that's super important, because you save yourself a quarter second, half second every time. This is something that's that may not be very, very obvious to people who play at lower elos or even in Master, but it's something that's really obvious that when you watch a lot of streams of a player, or watch a player who's like a one trick of the champion, a lot of their ability to play the champion at a top level is their ability to make the highest damage rotation in the lowest amount of time. I just wanted to spend some time to talk a little bit about it, because it's something that you should be thinking about. Every time when I play a new champion, I'm like, okay, what's cancelable, what's not? And as a pro player, one of the first things that I used to think of, or ex-pro player, was that what can I flash, use an ability in flash to lower the cast animation? So can I do it with Lysandra Q? No. Can I do it with Yasuo Q? Yes. Wow. Maybe sometimes I'll use that, and then you'll be able to create fluid combos and get kills in which you couldn't do that before. And it's something that you should be thinking about, because if you want to elevate your gameplay and you're curious how, like, wow, how did that guy do so much damage and so fast? Like, the biggest words when I hear my champion doesn't do as much damage as his champion, a lot of times is because the other person playing that champion is just super clean when it comes to knowing what rotations or what animations to cut, as well as their optimal damage rotation in the fastest time. I'm not really sure where I was going with this, but it's just something to keep in mind, because I feel like being able to cut your animations just shows prowess on the champion. Like, it tells me that you're experienced and you're super good at the champion, or at least you're competent enough at the champion. That's one of the first things I look for, and some of the things that really makes me happy to watch pro players, and when they have those optimal rotations, those optimal animation cuts. I'm just like, wow, like, this guy knows how to bring out the best in those champions. And that's really what I look for a lot of times when I look for champion mastery. I don't look at if this guy is level 5 champion master or not. I look for, can he cut the right animations? Is his burst rotations good? Obviously this is for damage champions, so when you're playing tanks or healers, it might be a little bit different. But this is just something to keep in mind when you're trying to min-max your play. This is something I think about all the time when I'm playing champions, and when I'm really, and sometimes I'll talk about as well on stream, but a lot of times it just escapes me till later how important it is as a player who wants to maximize their damage. Well, that's everything for tonight. Hope you guys have a great day. I am out.